You're never really prepared to be a mother, right? Like there's the joys of it, but nobody really talks about the things that just causes stress. Hello, lovely people. Welcome to my virtual couch. Happy Friday to ya. In my last video, I discussed the difference between psychiatrists, psychologists, psychotherapists. So if you have not seen that video, check it out over here. So today's topic, we're going to talk about something that it just really has been touching my heart, which is about postpartum psychosis. Motherhood is something that is very important to me, especially, and I didn't always feel this way, but now that I am a mother, I have a toddler, I love all things motherhood. I love the good, the bad, the ugly, and I also run a postpartum support group, and it's for women that are basically struggling with motherhood, mothers that are just dealing with the challenges and the newness of motherhood and what that entails. It's a group that I started at my company because when I had my child, I was in survival mode. You can have all the resources and all the support in the world, but sometimes it's no one really prepared. You're never really prepared to be a mother, right? Like there's the joys of it, but nobody really talks about the things that just causes stress and the lack of sleep and just not knowing what to do and just trying to figure out this little being out, and you're afraid you're going to kill the child, and there's so many things that come with it. So I wanted to talk about this story because it really, I saw it and I cried. And one thing I've noticed about myself now that I'm a mother, that is sometimes it's hard for me to read stories about children or, anyway. So I want to go into this because I've been seeing a lot of comments online, and I think there is a misperception about postpartum depression, anxiety. I'm going to pull up this article from the New York Post, which says, prominent NYC cancer doctor Krystal Cascetta shot her baby, then turned the gun on herself in a suspected unaliving. I can't say those words. Anyway. So it says a prominent New York City doctor unalived herself and her baby at their Westchester home Saturday morning in what police believe to be a and Sua just complete the sentence. So Dr. Krystal Cascetta, 40, died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound after shooting her child. So it says that the incident appeared at her home in Summers, a $1 million house she shares with her husband, 37-year-old Tim Tolte. Ooh, this guy, I know he's feeling it. It remains unclear how old the child was, but social media posts suggest the baby was born around March. So March, April, May, July, August. So March, April, May, July, August. So baby's like 5 months. And honestly, I tell my moms in my support group that for the first year, you are in survival mode. You really don't start to feel like yourself until after a year, okay? And I've been seeing a lot of comments like, oh, she's a doctor, blah, blah. Intelligence and educational level has nothing to do with the struggles of motherhood. It just doesn't. And there's a lot of false narratives about, we don't know what she was going through, but I suspect that she might have been dealing with some postpartum issues, including postpartum psychosis, but we'll go from there. She's a very beautiful woman. It says they were married in 2019. It says being a doctor was in her DNA. She's an avid runner, fitness enthusiast. There's not much known about her. Well, we know she's a doctor, but there's not really, they didn't really, give us much. So whenever something like this happens, my clinical senses peaks. And one of the things that I suspect, again, we don't know, the baby was only 5 months, is you have to think about the pressures of being a doctor, right? It's a rigorous, if everybody could be a doctor, there would be a doctor. A rigorous journey. You're going through undergrad and medical school and residency, and it's tough, you know? And so, and then also she's a cancer doctor. So that comes with its own stressors, right? Now she's had a baby, and who knows what she was going through. But we're going to talk about postpartum psychosis. And I'm going to read the clinical definition of it. I always believe in reading the clinical definition before I give my opinion. But anyway, postpartum psychosis can affect anyone who recently gave birth. Remember I said earlier, educational level, lifestyle has nothing to do with who can get postpartum psychosis. It does not discriminate on age, race, etc., okay? It just doesn't matter, okay? While it usually happens within several days of giving birth, it can happen up to 6 weeks after. It can happen to anybody who gives birth, but the odds of having it are higher for people with certain mental health conditions. While experts don't know if these conditions contribute or cause PPP, postpartum psychosis, they know that there is a link. So how common is postpartum psychosis? Postpartum psychosis is a rare condition. Experts estimate it affects between 0.089 and 2.6 out of every 1,000 births, okay? In the United States, it means it happens between 320 and 9,400 births each year, okay? So what are the symptoms of postpartum psychosis, okay? Postpartum psychosis can be hallucinations. This is where sometimes mothers might feel like they're seeing things that's not there. You know, I've heard stories of mothers seeing like snakes on the wall, or mothers, they're feeling or they're hearing things that's not there, and they cannot tell the difference between hallucinations, something that's real and something that's truly happening. And then delusions. Delusions are false beliefs that you hold strongly to. There's stories of postpartum depression where postpartum psychosis, where mothers feel like if they killed their child is going to go to heaven. They also feel like somebody is controlling their body. They also feel like they didn't have a child or they weren't pregnant. These are delusions, are when you truly believe that something is happening, even though there's convincing evidence that it's not true. I've never really treated someone with postpartum psychosis. I've treated people with postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, and I think I'm going to do a separate video with that. But, you know, it causes mood changes where it can exacerbate into mania. So here's what I'm thinking. I suspect that Dr. Krystal Cascetta, I suspect that she may have had a previous mental health condition. I suspect she might have either been dealing with depression or anxiety, or being a doctor comes with its own challenges. And we often see that doctors have one of the highest mental health conditions that is untreated because there's a shame around it. There's a shame around the stress. Like maybe you're doing the job that you love, but no one's talking about the competition. No one's talking about the hazing. No one's talking about the imposter syndrome. No one's talking about the pressures it is of being a doctor, right? So I'm sure more is going to come out with the story because we only have a limited information, but I'd be curious to know if she had some underlying medical condition that was not, mental health condition that was not treated. I would want to know, support system, like what was her support system like? I know she had her husband, but sometimes support system is very important. Let me go back and talk about the symptoms, right? Symptoms also include hypomania, disorganized thinking or behavior, insomnia. So think about when you have a baby. One of the number one things that affects you is sleep, right? So insomnia, irritability or agitation, and thoughts of self-harm. Sometimes mothers might trick themselves into thinking, this baby's better off without me. Or this baby is better off not being here because of the type of person that I am. Notice that in high performing women that have high careers, when they give birth, there is a huge shift, right? Think about when you are, and I also don't know if she was on maternity leave. If the baby was 5 months, either she might have taken extra time off or she had just now gotten back to work. And one of the things about motherhood is, if you have a rigorous career, such as being a doctor or a lawyer, or etc., and when you go back to work, there's that shift of I'm not myself, right? You're in this high authoritative position. And then when you go home, you have to deal with this little human being. So it's possible that she had a hard time just adjusting to her new lifestyle. And so she thought, you know what? It's just better if I'm not here, if the baby's not here. We don't know. Again, I'm just speculating because we don't have all the facts yet. Symptoms also includes anxiety or attack, right? Feelings of guilt, loss of appetite, and loss of enjoyment relating to the things that they typically enjoy. What causes postpartum psychosis? We don't really know, but part of postpartum psychosis also sounds a little bit of bipolar when you go into a mania state, right? You might feel very, very, very on top of the world, and then you might feel very, very, very low, right? Hormone changes, right? Your body chemistry is changing during pregnancy and goes through major changes during childbirth. I always like to tell my mothers in the group, just because you push the baby out doesn't mean that the hormones are gone, right? The hormones are still there for some time. That's why they even tell you to take your prenatal vitamins, right? It also says psychosis can also happen for medical reasons, right? It might be deficiency in certain vitamins, B1, B12, thyroid disorder, etc., right? I want to talk about postpartum psychosis treatment, or PPP. Here is where people don't understand, is that PPP is very treatable. It is. It just sometimes might take a while to treat. But also, in some cases where women have experienced postpartum psychosis, they don't say anything, right? They feel like they have to have it all together. So because they don't say anything, the symptoms get worse. It's like a soda can. You're shaking it, and eventually, unfortunately, it explodes, okay? But it's very treatable. It obviously involves therapy. And sometimes I would even recommend hospitalization, which is hard because mothers are like, if I just gave birth and I'm nursing this child, you want me to go into a hospital? But what I would say to, if this person is my client, is better that you get hospitalized and be well so that you can be well to take care of your baby long term. So sacrifice this short term for the long term, which sometimes is hard. Like if I just had a baby, I wouldn't want to be away from the baby. But we look at, you know, what I would say is you have to do what is best for your child, and you being hospitalized and you getting intense treatment is what's best for your child right now. Okay. ECT is also another type of treatment for postpartum psychosis. ECT is, I'm going to look it up, electroconvulsive therapy. That's basically like shock therapy, okay? And obviously getting on medications, so mood stabilizers, medications like lithium. So ECT is very safe. It's a highly effective method for treating lots of different conditions, including psychosis. It's basically like an electrical current. It's a shock therapy, but it's a mild electrical current that passes through your brain that sort of like, it induces, this is going to sound so bad, induces a mild seizure, but the effects of that seizure causes the brain to reduce the symptoms of the PPP, okay? It's like rewiring your brain a little bit. If somebody that you suspect has PPP, is the first thing is you got to get them help, even if they don't want to. You have to force them into treatment because unfortunately, it's nothing that works out on its own. It does exacerbate, right? So I suspect that with Dr. Krystal, she didn't just wake up one day and decided to just unalive herself and her baby. I suspect there were a series of symptoms that resulted in the final explosion. She just decided one day to do it. There were things that she was telling herself that caused her to do this. And sometimes it gradually happens. Again, her child is only 5 months. She probably was struggling. And unless she left a note or anything like that, we would never know what happened. But I'm curious to see if the husband's going to speak out. I saw somewhere that a reporter called the husband, which I feel like is very insensitive. And the husband said, not right now. But So how can you reduce your risk of developing PPP? Well, I would say this. First, utilize your support system. You know, if you already have a history of mental health illness, depression, anxiety, bipolar, whatever, and then you're pregnant, start seeking therapy while you're pregnant. I would also consult with the psychiatrist to be on medication. The psychiatrist can be able to determine what medication will be helpful for you if you're nursing, right? Lithium, I have known for it to be very, very effective. But if you already have a history of depression and then you get pregnant, you want to start getting help, and you want to have an open and transparent conversation with your support system. Hey, I'm not feeling the best. Hey, let's come up with a plan for when the baby's here. Who's going to help me with what, right? Because if you don't verbalize, then your support system thinks you got it. And also there's the fear of judgment, you know. Oh, you know, I've seen people do it before me as mothers. And so if I say I need help, you know, people are going to judge me. But the bigger picture is this is for the best interest of your baby. The thing that people don't understand is that, you know, postpartum psychosis is a temporary condition. You know, it just requires treatment. Right? The longer you let it go on, the more severe and dangerous it becomes. And I feel like Dr. Krystal let it go on for long. So, you know, my condolences to the whole family. I don't look at Dr. Krystal in a bad way. I feel really saddened for her that she felt like she couldn't reach out. Or maybe she did reach out and her feelings were dismissed. We don't know. But I suspect we'll find out more about it. Okay, so if you have someone that you know that is struggling, have a conversation with them, get them help, therapy. If you need to dial the 988, that is a universal number for the United States for mental health, if somebody's in a mental health crisis. And stay calm and have a meeting with your support system. Hey, I noticed that you've been more irritable. You don't connect to your child. You're saying things that don't make sense. We need to come up with a plan. Get help ASAP. Even if the person's mad at you, I'd rather you save that person's life than not do anything and then have to deal with the aftermath of it. So I think I'm going to spend some time talking about postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, because that's something that I work with a lot with my clients. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for subscribing. My channel's slowly growing and I'm appreciative of all the support. So I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.